Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of Vinyl Stallions!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the next episode of Vinyl Stallions, a podcast about all things music. You can check us out anywhere you listen to podcasts, and you can follow us at Vinyl Stallions. Today we have an incredible guest. We have two incredibly talented women that go under the duo Wild Roots Rising. They are an indie folk band based out of Southeast United States, led by songwriters, vocalists, and instrumentalists Julia Houghton.
That's me.
And Olivia Moore.
Hey.
And to give a little background on how this whole podcast and episode came to fruition. So I've mentioned on here how I've started to go into some open mic nights recently. And there's a great one every Tuesday night at this bar called the Winchester in Lakewood, Ohio. And it's very laid back. It's very acoustic focused up front. And I'm just going up there, and these two women show up and just tear the place down with their two acoustic guitars. A flute was involved. I was jaw dropped. And so that is kind of how I became exposed to Wild Roots Rising. But ladies, how are we doing today? I appreciate you taking some time to come talk.
It's a great day. I'm having a really nice day. I just ate some mac and cheese, so I feel like, that's a high bar.
You can never go wrong with mac and cheese. So where are you two posted up at in the Southeast United States?
We are currently living in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yep.
We just moved here back in February.
Okay, I was going to ask, so is this where you guys originally have been? Obviously not. How is it there? It's a bucket list place that I've wanted to visit for many years of my life now.
New Orleans is great. Yeah. The people here are great. The city's really fun. It's kind of crazy, but like you always have a different kind of day every day, which is it's neat. It is very hot, but
yes.
That's why we like touring up north.
So where are you originally from then?
We met in North Carolina over 10 years ago. Yeah. So
wow.
I actually met Olivia in high school because I was in the same grade as her older sister. So I just started hanging around the house and they haven't been able to me. So Olivia and I became friends a couple years later, like for real friends.
It was like after you guys went to college.
Yeah. And we started playing some tunes together. We had another band, our starter band called Bloom. And we like played around Greensboro, North Carolina, and like some other spots in the Carolinas, and had a great little time with that. But then once we decided to be more serious about our music, we started writing kind of different kinds of songs, a little bit more complex, and we changed our name to Wild Roots Rising, recorded our record, and that's how it came to be.
That is awesome. So have you both been playing guitar for your entire life, or when did this whole musical interest get started for both of you?
So I started taking piano lessons actually when I was like 7 years old. And I did that for like 7 or 8 years until I finally was like, I actually don't like the piano. I love the piano. I didn't like taking lessons anymore. It wasn't really that interesting to me anymore. And honestly, like I've always loved singing as well, and so I kind of just wanted, it started out as me wanting an instrument that I could play easier to sing along with, and then I actually just liked the guitar so much that I started taking classical music lessons and kind of getting a lot more like in depth with that instrument, and we have not been separated since. I'm going into a performing arts high school for my high school years and like study classical music and classical guitar.
Wow.
That's how we met. I played the classical piano at the same high school. It was like,
what high school is that?
It's called Weaver Academy. It's in North Carolina, and honestly, it's such a great school. You
It's the best.
audition to get in, and then you spend an hour and a half every day doing your disciplines. So I studied piano, Olivia studied classical guitar, but they had other options too. And honestly, a lot of people from that school have continued making music. I have like a playlist of people from that high school who they're all on Spotify now.
Dang, that's incredible. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, here for like different colleges, but to be able to have that opportunity and uh I don't know. I don't know if there was trust in like your parents or whatever backing you and saying like, go do this now for your high school. Like that's unheard of, at least to where I'm from up here in Ohio.
Yeah, it was a public school. It was
Oh,
we
wow.
we were really lucky. I've heard of like several other schools like that throughout the country, but
They're like private schools.
yeah, I felt really lucky that we got to go to Weaver.
That's
Definitely.
incredible.
It was great. It definitely has this like really good energy of teenagers who are just weird artists, like just they all just get to be weird and creative together.
You got to be
It's-
a little bit weird if you want to be
The
creative.
teachers, honestly, the teachers are pretty rad.
That's incredible. So, well, so then you mentioned you both are like classically with guitar, classically trained with piano. So on your website, it's classical folk fusion with unique arrangements and complex harmonies. And
Mhm.
honestly, this is the best way I think you guys or you both are able to describe yourself, because again, when I saw you at the Winchester, the complex guitar playing, I just started playing the acoustic really within the last year or so, and I've been really getting into Dave Matthews and his acoustic guitar playing, and it's very unique the way he plays. But then I see both of you playing classical guitar while putting your heart into it as well with the harmonies was insane to witness, and it immediately drew the attention of not just me, the entire room. So when did you both say, okay, we both have these amazing voices, let's start to combine them? Did you do that in Bloom, or was it more when you moved over to Wild Roots Rising?
It was a little bit in Bloom. In those stages, it was like mostly Julia singing. And like I would add some harmonies.
She was
Here and
queen
there.
of doing some.
Yep. But how essential are those in music? Like I commented on it every time.
The type of music that we make, it's really important because so much of it is about like the experience for the two of us. Oftentimes when we play, we're like this close together, which is close enough to fit inside a Zoom box. And we just are like vibrating in the harmonies, and a lot of our songs kind of come around by like, oh, I wrote, a chorus and a melody line, and like I have some simple guitar parts, and then I'll like bring it to Olivia, and she's like, well, I'll put on these crazy guitar parts, and then like we'll work out harmonies, and then we'll be like, oh, maybe we should add this to the song, and it like really we bring them to each other as an idea, and then they go down this weird path that's like, I never know how our songs are going to turn out. Sometimes they get a little spooky.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, I feel like it took us a while to get to that point though. Like I had to grow as a guitar player because I'm a self-taught guitarist, and like a lot of my stuff was really simple, and then Olivia would be writing these crazy riffs, and I was like, okay, I gotta level up, like I gotta work on this. And Olivia really has grown as a singer too in the last couple of years, and I find that we've just been more confident in bringing pieces to each other.
Yeah.
And then like I feel like the more confident you bring something, the easier it is for somebody else to get excited about it. So I don't know, we just get really hyped up. Like we want the music we play to challenge us. We don't want it to be something that was easy to write.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, some of the songs like come through pretty easy, but I would say most of our songs, like we spend at least 6 to 8 months working on it before we even like bring it out to the public.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
and so in Bloom, I keep saying in Bloom, I just keep going right back to the Nirvana song, but in Bloom, was it just you two in that as well, or were there other members?
it was mostly us,
Okay.
and then our friend Evan, who plays the upright bass.
Yeah,
Very
Evan
cool.
Yeah, he actually still plays bass with us pretty regularly in Wild Roots Rising, and he was on our record as well.
Oh, the record.
Playing the
Yes.
bass. He's kind of like an OG member of the group, but he's pretty much the
Nice.
only.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice.
We're so lucky to have him too. I met him when I was in college, and we met in philosophy club. But he was in the orchestra as a upright bass player, and he saw us playing at a coffee shop and was just like, "Hey, you guys are really good.
You need a bass player."
And we were like, "Yeah." And honestly, playing with him, I think, pushed us to blossom out of bloom and become Wild Ridge Rising, because he definitely brings a layer of complexity, and like having somebody who is musically on the same page with you, and also like perhaps I feel like he's very dedicated, he's very talented. Like having somebody that talented on your team is like, oh wow, we want to write pieces that like puzzle Evan.
Yeah. Someone who is like also classically trained but wants to play folk music too, so like he just kind of really fits into like the genre that we're trying to play, I guess.
No, that's
Really,
awesome.
Play any genre, that's just kind of how the songs come out.
Yeah. No, it's the reason why I asked was I mean, you mentioned how it takes you months, 6-8 months or whatever, to be able to work out between you two and then show it to the public. And I mean, people out there, that just shows how long it takes in the actual performance that you're seeing on stage, how many times it has to run through to make sure it's down to a complete T. And I just feel like that aspect of it is sometimes just overlooked, at how much actual work, how many times you're running it through. Like they're not just going up there and just throwing it together, and that's for any act out there. So it's really cool to hear that how much time, how much just connection you have to be able to, again, see what I saw just an open mic night.
Yeah, I think that has been the best part of like writing our first album that we released online, was we had the songs in 2020 in December, and we spent the whole month of January 2021 rehearsing and practicing in my little apartment in the woods, and we worked for a whole month like perfecting the songs. And then we were like, okay, we're gonna wait 6 months to record this, so that way we know it in and out, like backwards to forwards. And we had to bring in
more songs.
We did.
That time period, we did.
And we brought in a team of musicians to record with us, who we have played with on and off, but like never anything serious. Actually
no, Evan was the only one.
Evan was the only one
who
who
we played with before.
We had a drummer snafu, as it happens.
Our drummer double booked himself, and like a week before we went to record the album, he was like, actually, I can't.
What?
Yeah.
So what'd you do with that aspect? Because I hear some drums on this record.
I called everyone that I knew who played the drums. I called everyone I knew who played music and asked them if they knew a drummer.
And in the end, it was Evan.
And in the end, Evan was the one who was like, "Oh, my friend Zach can come do it."
Evan, shout out! That's awesome.
Seriously, shout out to Evan. Yeah. We love him.
Zach was awesome.
Zach was amazing. He has a degree in the drumming arts.
Yeah, we got all classical musicians on the album, actually.
Yeah, and our violinist was somebody Olivia went to school with. Who she met. Did you meet her like on Facebook?
I met her on Facebook.
She was like, I want to learn how to play the violin.
Yeah, because my little sister had just dropped out of the orchestra at school, and so I asked her if I could have her violin, because I've always been interested in learning it. So I went on Facebook and I asked if there was anyone in the music school who would be willing to give me violin lessons, and she responded that she would do it for free because
that's awesome.
Like wanting to practice teaching. So yeah, I met up with Bella a couple times, but this was like my junior year of college, and then we recorded the album right after I graduated. So
we had a couple times where we made little picnics in the yard and sat outside with her and played with her. But honestly, yeah, everybody showed up in June of 2020 to record the album, and it was like this group of people who had, I think we had only had one group
We had
practice
one group rehearsal
before then, and we all
Wow.
showed up, and the recording experience was amazing. Like we could talk about that for an hour.
Yeah.
And everybody showed up, and there are people,
Tom.
yeah, true, but there were people who had never practiced before, and we just all like melded together and had this amazing experience recording our album on a farm, like out in the middle of the woods with a
What?
creek and some magical horses and a big old barnyard.
Wait, so dive into that a little bit more. Where was this at, and did you record it yourselves, or yeah, just tell us more about it.
We need to be
Yeah.
introduced to our friend Tom Troyer.
Yes, so we recorded our album with our friend Tom Troyer. He runs Black Rabbit Audio in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Black Rabbit Audio, check them out. They're great.
Yes. And we recorded the album. So at the time that we recorded our album, he just moved to like a new studio, but at the time that we recorded the album, he only had a basement studio at his house. And it was great for recording like a duo or a single artist, but there was no way that we were going to be able to fit a full band in there. And we have very strong opinions about doing live recording. We do not really like recording scratch tracks and then recording each instrument singularly over top of that. Where like something about it just makes us so angry.
It needs to be live. Like I feel like seeing us in person is the best way to hear us. But we couldn't quite bring the live energy to the track if we tried to have it so metered, because like a lot of our music is very, I don't know, I feel like it breathes, like it has this expansion and this this
definitely.
flow to it that really we just needed to record everything live, but we wanted it to be clean. So
we needed space.
we needed a lot of space.
Yeah, so we had a friend, Laura Jane Vincent. She's also a musician and a manager in the Greensboro area.
Also just like a general amazing person.
Earth Angel.
Yeah.
Earth Angel. And she has this just old, beautiful farmhouse in Glendon, North Carolina. It's like old 19th century farmhouse. It's not an operating farm. She does have 2 rescue horses and a very cute dog, but that's kind of it. But it's just like out in kind of the middle of nowhere, eastern North Carolina, and we convinced her, it wasn't very hard to do it, to let us come for a whole week with Tom, Evan, Zach on the drums, and our friend Bella playing the violin, and me and Julia. And so yeah, we just all stayed there for a whole week and worked on the album every day.
Yeah. And we recorded it so that Olivia and I were in the same room, so we could we wanted to be able to make eye contact while we recorded. We wanted to be able to like play off of that live energy with each other.
Absolutely.
And I think that does go back to how intense and important harmony is to us. Like oftentimes when we play, we'll get a response that's like, I don't know whose voice is whose or whose guitar is whose. Like you guys are just one big voice and one big guitar.
No, yeah.
I feel like that's just the connection, the like in-person connection that we have. So we played in a room, and then across the hall we had our drummer, and then upstairs we had our bass player on one end of the hallway and our violinist on the other end, and we all had our headphones on, and we would count it off and we would go, and we would get that live feeling. It was amazing. We stayed there for a whole week, made everybody like vegetarian meals, went on adventures in the creek, and
fun.
it was really fun.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was great. A true group bonding experience. And I feel like you can tell that everybody had fun when you listen to it. Like we had just a really good time just making a folk record in the woods.
Everyone just had good history with each other.
Yeah.
Something about that group just
It
like
was really good.
yeah.
They are our ideal band. And we do still play with our bass player and the drummer. But Bella, she is like actually,
she wants to be a classical musician.
she's like going to Europe for grad school or something.
Probably.
That was discussed at one point. We don't know.
She wants to, like, the last time I talked to her, she wants to play in the symphony, so.
She's basically just a string wizard.
She's in another band too, also.
Yes,
Her
her
family
sister.
band.
It sounds like water or
It's Water the Band.
water the band.
Water the Band. That's our violinist's family band. It's her and all of her siblings.
Yeah.
Dang, that's cool. All
Yeah, they're
siblings.
Yeah. It's chilling, the music.
It's very, very technically impressive.
Yeah.
They're all like very well trained. I mean, some of them are even like professors at college who teach music.
Dang, that's
Community.
impressive. I Water the Band. I'm gonna check them out.
You should. They're like haunting. With me.
Spook me up. All right. So, all right. So you guys are coming up. It was September 24th of 21 when you released that self-titled album, Wild Roots Rising, with 13 songs on it. And I just wrote down a couple like that just really stood out to me. And yes, so as I'm working down the album, the first one that stood out was Daily. And that guitar is wild. And again, we mentioned harmonies, how essential they are. I mean, they just, for me at least, and I say this on almost every single episode, so that's why I was like asking how important is harmonies, because I talk about it every time, how it just brings the whole vibe. It's kind of like having that synth in the background that brings your emotions with you as the song continues. Yeah. And I feel like harmonies do it just as good, if not better.
They provide a fullness for sure. Like,
yeah.
And this one with Daily especially, we even have like harmonies on the guitar. Yeah. That are happening not just like through the vocals that I really like.
Very cool. And then the other one was The Dawn 2. That is that seems like one of your guys' most popular ones, again with the violin, and then just the like, I love jam bands, and like just at the end of that, you guys just take us on a ride throughout the whole thing.
Yes. And that was a moment where the musicians in the room just really came together. Like, we had never practiced it that way. It just kind of happened.
Really?
Like, ooh, I think we need to do that.
That whole ending section we wrote like the day before we recorded it.
Inspired. That was really fun. That was a moment where I feel like I really let loose and like belted at the end, and I don't always do that, but it is something I enjoy. So you can hear me doing that at the end of the song.
No, it's very powerful. And something else that I thought was really cool about this, you mentioned how you obviously enjoy recording live. So I like how there's some actually titled live tracks on this album. And I make my way down to the Moon song, which is just crickets and live. Was there any instruments involved in that? How was that?
Acapella.
Yeah, that was cool as hell. Like I was like, where am I? You want to talk about just putting you in?
You were in Glenville, North Carolina, baby. You were on the farm with us.
Yeah, I'm sitting there with you, just watching those wild horses.
Yes. I think something that has been really important to us is, all the music starts as a duo. It starts as just Olivia and myself working together. And we are comfortable touring just the two of us, and we love bringing in other people on the album, but it was really important for us to have songs that are just the two of us. Like on Daily, there's nobody else on that. That's a duo song. And on the Moon song, that's another one where it's just a duo. And we wanted to do a cappella songs, so songs without any instruments, because that is something that is like traditional, and that you can do that anywhere, no instruments needed. Like, we sing the Moon song to most beautiful full moons that we experience together.
Yeah.
We've sang it in the Atlantic Ocean, we've sang it in Lake Michigan, like we've sang it in the Gulf of Mexico, like we're just out here singing the dang Moon song wherever we go, and that's something we can do on the fly. And it was important to bring those elements of our music making to the album, like musical experiences that aren't always something you want to hear on like a main stage to like rage out to, but something that is like peaceful and calming.
Absolutely. And I find that very much in your music constantly. I wrote down, I don't know, it's very like, I guess classical is the right term, but I just find so much jazz as well. It was like jazz folk at points, and that's such a unique, I don't know, genre to touch. And then you go and look at a song like Surrender, where it's like Western folk, and
Grasp.
I thought that one was awesome. 1, 2, trains go choo choo, send it.
Okay, so yeah, we
Wait,
had
you
a couple options for
can
that one.
1, 2, tie my shoe.
The one was 1, 2, lick the bottom of my shoe.
So that was like another instance of just like that's when you can tell we were having fun recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Recorded with the drummer.
Yeah.
So
And we
were
had
silly with it.
gosh, and he's such a silly person, and I'm like a really silly person. So and Evan's really silly. I feel like the three of us are like a toxic pun waiting to happen. But I feel like we can definitely find the joy in our whole recording experience on the 1, 2 trains that go choo choo.
I mean, it's memorable. It's immediately it's what kind of starts the song, but
we debated not putting it in there, but I'm glad we did. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, that's like so cheesy, like we're corny. But other times I'm like, yeah, we're a little corny. That's fine.
You just gotta give people something to remember, and it can be one musical part or one lyric. And when you record or when you're doing it live, it could be just something you do out there. But I'm gonna remember that and Surrender. So you ladies did your job with that one, and within the first 5 seconds.
Yeah, and also just calling back to something you said earlier, about how we went for a live sound, but some of them on the album actually say live. It's because there were just one take on those.
Oh, okay.
So everything else
is like it's got
like
one cut in there at some
Yeah.
point, like a little spliced together from different takes and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the two that say live were just like a straight take.
Tame Like a Storm,
No
which
way.
Tame Like a Storm, which we recorded by the river, with like we were standing like in the mud, the little muddy bank,
Yeah.
and then everybody was holding like different microphones in a circle around. We were just singing with the birds.
That one was really rogue.
I think that's the very first voice memo on my phone, because I had just gotten a new phone, so I can always scroll back down and be like, oh.
We recorded that one on like iPhones and like the camera audio.
And the Moon Song is the other live one, which we also recorded outside, and I feel like that was an important thing to bring to the record too, was just like the joy of being outside. And like I feel like that's so often where we like to go to practice and play, like go on a camping trip or go on a drive in the mountains or go to the beach.
So we like get most of our best writing done.
Yeah.
Usually. And also the Moon Song is like a ballad for the moon.
It's for the moon.
So like you have to do it outside.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It just makes sense.
It does. And no, those were awesome. And I love your just like both of you, how you find lyrics so important. So you mentioned as well on your website, environmentalism and social justice activism are important themes throughout all songs. And I am a songwriter myself, and I appreciate just having some sort of meaning behind it and really thinking about it, and then trying to form it in ways that are relevant to today, and whether that be issues or celebration of anything that's happening in today's world, because it's just a stamp of that year when it was put out. This is what you want to talk about. So I thought that was really cool. And again, I definitely saw all those themes clear as day as I went through this self-titled album.
Yes, Wild Roots Rising by Wild Roots Rising. We I feel like we always want to approach lyrics in a way that is like poetic, but also just real, just like, I don't know, something that people can relate to. And we definitely want to talk about those themes of environmentalism, of like taking care of each other, taking care of the land that we share, and like the spaces that we are lucky enough to get to be a part of, and like making sure that you are being inclusive and doing your part, and like educating yourself constantly because you're never supposed to stop growing, but like it's hard to not be cheesy sometimes. So
Hard to not be
we'll
too on
have
the nose.
we'll have moments where we like really like a song and then like we let it simmer. We go back to it and we're like,
These lyrics need work. Or there'll just be a moment where like something happens and we get really angry about it, or like we're really happy about some like
Yeah.
legislation that get passed or something. I don't know, just like, and we'll like go to write a song about it, and sometimes when it's like angry, you're just like letting that stuff come out, and then you go back to the song later and you're like, ooh, these lyrics. Oh, and there, like the message is there. Lyrics need some work.
so yeah, it's been a balancing act, but then sometimes you just have to say, can we curse on this?
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
You just gotta say fuck and just be a little on the nose because fuck it. Like I'm mad as fuck.
And some like songs that are really on the nose are the ones that get like really popular.
Yeah, and I yeah, for
Well,
sure.
And
You
I
know-
remember
Actually relate to that one. I don't have
Yeah.
to dig around in my feelings to figure out how that one's right there.
I mean, I remember seeing you were looking at each other being like, so what should we play? And the three you chose, by the third one, I remember you were like, wow, we've chosen all of our angry songs today. And I was laughing. And well, so I want to give some just like I mentioned it earlier in this episode, how again, I saw you at that open mic night, but the reason you were at that open mic night, so you just came off a tour and you hit from South Carolina to Washington, D.C., Brooklyn, New York. And in between Brooklyn, New York, and Chicago, I remember you said you were on your way to Chicago, is when you just randomly stopped in Cleveland, Ohio. And
It was on purpose. But yes, it was a
So,
random spot.
Yeah, I have a lot of family in Cleveland, so we were staying with my aunt.
okay. And I think it was before we started recording, but we got to make sure we get you up here again and a scheduled concert because I need more songs. 3 songs weren't enough for me. And again, the bar erupted, but
It was fun. That was a good crowd.
yeah, and you never know. Yeah. Well, yes. So that blew me away too. Playing the flute. Is there much flute on the record?
It's in 3 songs. It's in Angry Seeds, Spread Your Wings, and Rise. And Rise.
Very nice. Yeah, no, that was just a crazy aspect as well. So tell me a little bit about this tour. Was this your first tour traveling around, or how did it come to fruition, and what was it like being on the road for about a month?
This was Olivia's baby.
It was indeed.
This
Tell
was
us, Olivia. Break it down for us.
So like we toured a lot around North Carolina, just playing in like various cities in like South Carolina and Georgia and stuff. But this was our first kind of like break out of that, and yeah, I booked every show on the tour sans the first tour or the first stop at On Green. Laura Jane booked that for us. But yeah, I just spent probably like, I don't know, when we sat down it was like April or something, and we're like, hey, let's do a tour where we like go to these cities, and we're like thinking about cities where we know people that live in.
for sure. We were couch surfing.
Yes.
Hardcore.
What you
like,
got to do?
Kind of
It was
amazing.
honestly pretty fun.
Yeah. And and then I just went to work for like months, was just researching venues in that area, researching artists to work with, all that kind of stuff, and then just like emailing them and organizing it. And then it kind of actually started as we were just gonna do an open mic tour.
Yeah.
We were just gonna like do like a couple of weeks, drive around and like play some open mics. And then I was like, well, you know what? Like, what if we can still try to book some venue gigs, and then
Being paid is great. We're huge fans of getting paid.
Relatable.
So those just kind of kept coming in, and we did do a lot of open mics on the tour as well, and usually those were more so like where we made better connections. So like we wouldn't have met you if we didn't go to the Winchester, and like there's usually way more people there than at like a ticketed show. And
open mics kind of get you into the local music scene in a way that like ticketed events don't if you are a new band. So like we are very fresh. You know, we have friends in certain cities, but we don't necessarily have huge fan bases. And so we were trying to mix in and get mixtures of like, okay, well, we're gonna get paid for this show, and then like we're gonna sell tickets for this show, and like at the venues where they just pay you to play, it's usually a brewery or a bar or something like that. So people aren't always listening as much, but when you play an open mic, people are there to listen, people are there to share, and they're there to like meet,
to get connected
Yeah.
with you.
That's
That's like open mics is the place where most people like come up and like talk to us
Yeah.
afterwards.
that would definitely be my number one tip coming out of this tour to other beginning bands, is like, you are not above an open mic. Like
Go
you
to
should
the
go
open
to the
mics.
open mics, and you should be friendly. And
Because that's where you're gonna meet like the woman who hosted the open mic at the Winchester. She's helping us book shows in Cleveland right now.
Oh, nice.
And like that's just where you find people, like people who go to open mics know the local music scene, they know the local musicians, and
Yeah.
if they like your music, they're always willing to help you. Even just like getting information of like, this is where you should play, you should reach out to this band and like play a show with them,
Yeah.
or whatnot. And like that's how you make the connections of the city. You gotta go like to the place where the local people are.
yeah,
And even as a local, I've just found this out within the past month and a half at this point. And people would tell me, just go to the open mic nights, go to the open mic nights. You'll meet people there. And I have met so many great people, great musical talents, and great just networking connections as well. So it's, yeah, go to open mic nights, people.
yeah. I mean, if you're just like hanging around on a weekday night, like humdrum, another day of life where I watch the league, you're just like, oh, maybe I'll just go do something in my community, because it's just a great way to get introduced to a community. That's how we've made our best friends here in New Orleans, is
Sure.
like,
We met them all.
yeah,
through open mics, pretty much.
seriously. And yeah, and it's just, it is definitely a place where you can start building like little traditions and groups.
And yeah, we really like, it's really important to us to build meaningful connections with people who like our music.
Mhm.
So, you know, not just like going on the internet and like trying to find people to like listen to your music and like boost your numbers and all that stuff, but and like we do that,
Which is important too.
but we're also like going out into the community and like meeting people and like trying to like form connections with people who are interested in
Yeah,
music.
absolutely.
Get a little hard on the road because we're both pretty introverted. So there does reach a point where it's like,
Human being contact. I'm right there with you. Please stop.
would rather sit and eat mac and cheese and watch. No, not always. Sometimes you just got to get out there.
No.
Whenever people, I perk up. But that was probably the hardest part of tour, was just like, oh wait, like we were busy.
And
We were really
always
busy.
together.
We're roommates anyways. So it was just like, okay, now you live in a car.
Pretty much. I mean, there's not many people on this earth that I could spend that much time with and still be friends afterwards.
You definitely get good at being like, I'm going for a walk.
Yeah. Don't follow me.
It's okay. We're also like, we've been friends for, a dozen years.
That's how it is. Yeah.
It's like we can weather this storm. This storm that we signed up for, it worked really hard to get through.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll definitely be touring more.
Love it.
We're actually talking about doing a European tour in 2023.
Whoa.
So, if anybody listening to this podcast knows anything about music in Europe, you should find us on the internet. Just look up Wild Roots Rising. And, it'll probably be us.
It will be them. And again, that is at Wild Roots Rising _official or wildrootsrising.com.
Yeah.
And of course, you gotta, and that's something I always forget to do, is like, where can people actually find you? Well, let me tell you. Vinyl Stallions, people. We got Vinyl Valor here today. Take a gander.
Go listen.
Okay. Well, so Yeah, keep listening because this is one of my favorite parts of every episode. And you did a great segue, Olivia, in mentioning how some of your best friends are in the local New Orleans scene and you've seen some incredible acts. Spread the word up here in Cleveland, Ohio. What are some great local bands, or I don't know, they could even be bigger bands that have come through that many people may not know about, that you both listen to?
Okay, you cracked open a fun one.
We've got a lot.
So we are actually, if you want to get the in-depth list, Olivia and I are curating a playlist of the friends and homies and family. So
On our Spotify.
yeah, on our Spotify account. It's not released yet, but it will be soon. Where we're picking a few choice songs from some of our favorite bands that we've played with, that we know, that we honestly, that this is a playlist of the people that we know who we want to support, because it's like crazy once you've been doing music for like we've been doing music for like 5 or 10 years, not as seriously as the last year and a half, but we've been in the scene for a while, and like we've made a lot of different connections, and some people are definitely starting to pop off a little, and it's really cool to just be like, oh, look at all these amazing people that I've like had the chance to brush elbows with.
Yes.
First
First one gotta talk about is
Farewell Friend. Yep. Because you're already familiar with half the members. Farewell Friend is kind of our brother band from North Carolina. Our bass player, Evan, is the bass player, and he also sings in it now. Tom, who recorded our album, is the lead. He's the lead guitar, lead singer. And then Zach, our drummer, is also their drummer. So we do
And
often
that happened because of the
us.
album.
Yeah.
Tom was looking for a new drummer and he was like, I gotta get that Zach kid in my band.
So we kind of share a touring manager, Laura Jane Vincent, whose house we were at. So like those are the real ones. Like,
yeah,
you gotta check them
that's
out.
our family.
Yeah, they're a little bit more, they're like acoustic. No, they're not that acoustic actually. I'm sorry. They're like rock. Folk rock.
Yeah.
Is how I describe them.
Tom is a phenomenal lyricist.
Tom writes really great lyrics, and he also has a voice of like a Disney prince.
Yeah, his
like a
falsetto
bird.
is like, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
When he does his falsetto, it does sound like a chorus of magic birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Farewell Friend, you should definitely check them out. And we do tour with them because it's so easy because we share so many members, and like he knows our sound intimately. He's the sound guy. So he'll always make you sound good.
Okay, this is in New Orleans.
Okay. Mia Day. You should check her out.
Great,
we
like,
really
rock.
love her song Rosie.
Yeah.
Rosie by Mia Day.
That's really good.
It's like I guess like sad girl indie rock.
Yeah.
But she fucking kills it. We like sing that in the car together.
There's like a lot of that sad girl rock vibes in New Orleans.
Sure. One of our drummer's other projects is Reliably Bad. They do like kind of party funk.
Yeah, kind of like Lake Street
Funky.
Dive.
Yeah. Brass music. They have a really talented singer who actually went to our high school.
Yes.
Jessica.
River Academy.
Yeah, represent. And they make really good music, and they have a good amount of views on their stuff.
And you said they sound like Lake Street Vibe a little bit.
Lake Street Dive.
Dive. Yeah, we actually had on his name is Dr. Stirp, Austin Stirpka, and he just did their new album cover for Lake Street Dive. Yeah, it was very cool, and yeah, it was crazy to see. It was on Colbert and stuff, but that just sparked that memory for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool to talk to him about his whole aspect of music. But yeah,
are into like more country music. Like, how would you describe Laura Jane? I'd say like
space folk.
It's a little country.
Yeah, it's like more like the folk country, like southern rock.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe. Yeah, that's Laura Jane Vincent.
Yeah, she's the bee's knees, that one.
Sophia Mock.
Sophia with an F.
Yeah, she's got a very beautiful, like, easy listening, Nora Jonesy kind of vibe to her.
Her voice is
voice is
so smooth.
So beautiful.
It's
like silk.
It's literally effortless. Like she sings like almost like a very sensual whisper.
Yeah.
Um
It's like the feeling of shaving your legs and then getting into silk sheets.
That's great.
and she's like
so
That is
she's
the ultimate compliment right there.
then all of a sudden she gets like the sunrise. Like she's just like will bring out the rock a little bit. She has a couple singles out on Spotify, Sophia Mock she does, but she just recorded an EP with her very cool brother, Jeremy. That should be coming out hopefully relatively soon. So yeah, that's one of the New Orleans people to look out for. She is a second grade teacher, so she's not like committed to the musical life, but she is also committed to the musical life because she's always at open mics. She's performing all the time
every weekend.
and she's so good. Like the children deserve her, but like so does everybody's Spotify account.
Check her out. Awesome. No, I appreciate that. Like I said, this is my favorite part because I will just go back immediately and check out all these new artists that I'm figuring out about. So I appreciate that.
And then I would say, just really quick, that three artists who really inspire us as a band are Rising Appalachia.
That's the main
number one. They are the
not just
the
for
roadmap,
music, but just like the way that they run their business and like their band and everything.
Yeah, they are really, really excellent examples of weaving together activism, art, sustainability, and a diversified interests of the artist. Like they have a tea line on their merchandise table, which is like totally up our alley.
Yeah, like
we love them. We also really love the Staves.
Yeah.
They have some intensely beautiful harmonies.
Harmony.
Would recommend Dead and Born and Grown, the album of theirs. It's their first album. I think that was my favorite album for like such a long time.
That album was beautiful.
And then I would also say Fiona Apple, just because she's so good at being honest. And like our music doesn't sound like her, but like
I listen to her a lot.
She's definitely on repeat in the car. And she's somebody who I just like really, really respect. The way that she is able to be vulnerable and honest about her personal life in a way in her music that is so specific, but also like so extremely relatable to the listener. I think that's something that like I've been trying to work on in my more recent songs that I've been developing is like, I want to be brutally honest about myself and like about my experiences in this world. So I feel like those three female-led bands are very inspiring to us. We also
Fiona Apple is one of those people that you're like, you make music because you have to.
Yeah, I think she would literally explode without her music.
That's incredible. Now these sound all like artists I'm definitely interested in. So again, I appreciate you both diving into those. You mentioned you are classified as some tea addicts. Is this true? And what is the best flavor tea? Go.
Oh, too hard.
Okay,
we love gardening, first off.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, what's your favorite thing to plant in the garden? We'll start there.
Depends on the soil. Because in North Carolina, I would say tomatoes.
Yeah.
But here in New Orleans, I would say cilantro.
Yeah.
Or mint.
Okay, my favorite tea is an Earl Grey tea, but I steep it with fresh ginger and clove and cinnamon. So it's like
yum.
But you gotta get like the fresh ginger is really like
really important.
Kind of essential. It's like
ginger root.
And then with honey and milk. It's like a whole thing, but
It's worth
It's
it.
worth it. Oh, it's so good.
That is also my favorite because Olivia will just make it and then we'll drink it. No, I'm also a very big fan of a green tea with ginger, just stem ginger.
But ginger is the
and
best
everything.
tea.
Yeah. Also, I do enjoy making my own brew with ginger and fresh lemongrass, which is something else that
Yes.
grows really well down this far down south.
Lemongrass is so good.
It's so yummy. Or
There's like a fresh
lemon
mint.
mint.
Tea.
Yeah. Lemon and ginger. You can't really go wrong with an herbal tea like that.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I've been trying to make it a routine of mine at least once a day to get some tea inside of me. And I have been missing out on the ginger and the lemon because that is not part of the routine. So,
Okay. Also, I just got this really tasty thing. I got like a tiny little immersion blender. And now I just like whip up all the milk with honey. And yeah, that's what it's called. Thank you. Immersion blender. A little bit, not really. Yeah, it's a little milk frother. And I will say it is probably the best $2.50 I've ever spent because
You just make little lattes.
it just makes everything so dang creamy. So good.
now I am literally going to go get some tea as soon as we're done here today. So, hell yeah. All right. Well, again, Wild Roots Rising. Check them out. wildrootsrising.com at wildroots_official. But we have an encore for you ladies. We always do with every guest. We ask the same question, and feel free to get as wild, as detailed as you want. But and what is your most memorable concert experience? And I like to dive in a little bit more and phrase it as unique, bizarre, strange thing that whether it happened to you on stage, whether you were at a concert, it happened to the artist or just someone in the crowd, something that has stuck with you for your whole life. And feel free to answer individually. And honestly, you can give multiple answers as well.
Also, really quick, it is Wild Roots Rising _official.
What did I say? Did I mess that up?
Wild Roots _official.
Okay. Yes, you're right. I did.
I just,
No, good call. Good call.
Okay. I think maybe one of the craziest things was when we were playing at Soul Harmony Fest.
I was thinking about
And
that one.
my guitar string broke on stage and I had to like call into the mic, and I play the banjo in the band too. So I was like, well, it's just a banjo song. But I was on the mic. I was like, does anybody have a guitar? And this man with like long hair emerged from his tent and like ran up to the stage with a guitar for me to play. That was fun.
That's incredible. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
Saved the day.
We were like chanting his name.
No, I don't know what his name is. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
I don't know. So that was pretty crazy. that was fun. It was just like funny to see him like, I'll do it.
Pass it forward. Go.
Yeah, that was like some good music festival energy.
Man, honestly, nothing that crazy has happened to us.
Yeah,
Or that I've seen at a concert.
not while
That I
we've been
can think
playing.
of.
I feel like most memorable concerts.
I mean, the first time I saw Rising Appalachia is like probably one of the most formative moments of my musician career. Not that like anything particularly weird or happened. It was just like the first time that I'd heard the band ever, and like they just instantly became my favorite band of all time.
I feel like that way about going to a Lake Street Dive concert too. Was when they were doing their Side Pony tour.
Yeah.
It was like really up in the front, and I could see the lead singer so close, Rachel, and I saw her dancing, and like something about like seeing her dancing on stage was transcendent for me. I was like, wow, this is a woman who loves her music so much, and like you can tell. I just love it when you can tell people's passions, like when they're when somebody gets up on stage and they're like just embracing themselves. It's, I don't know, it's an empowering experience.
No, it definitely is. And I mean, yeah, you can open up a whole nother box with that comment of, I just will stress how much a performance means. And you could go up there, be the best guitarist, and yes, you'll blow my mind as well, but it's the energy and effort that the artist is putting behind it that is really going to stick with me as well. And so I'm sure that performance was incredible. And honestly, again, both of you ladies, your performance stuck with me this whole past month and a half, however long it's been. So I will be excited to see you. Hopefully, I come back to Cleveland, whether it's this year or early next year. We'll definitely be promoting it when it does happen, and get some Cleveland folk out to see Wild Roots Rising.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Of course. Well, again, I appreciate you both for taking some time to come on. It's been a pleasure on my end. I honestly forgot to say it at the beginning, but for you listeners out there, you may have missed our dear Klep's voice. This is the first episode actually without him. So Klep, we miss you, and we'll make sure to get him on sometime soon. And we would love to have you back on as well to dive in once more music is made, more tours are under the belts, I'm sure.
Yeah, you actually got a sneak peek of our next single we're gonna record too. I think we played. We played a new song that we've been working on at the open mic that we're kind of planning on recording this winter. So we'll let you know when that drops.
Very cool. And Stampede, take a gander. Wild Roots Rising. These ladies are incredibly talented and full steam ahead on that choo-choo train.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Well, again, Julia Houghton, Olivia Moore, Wild Roots Rising. Thank you again.
You're welcome. You.
Of course, my name is Spruce, and this has been another episode of Vinyl Stallion.